Hey guys, this is question MM146 of the Maths Methods Fortify study guide. We've got this graph, f of x equals 2 take 5 cos x on 2. It's applied a bunch of transformations and we need to find out the new rule for the function, which is g of x. So, the easiest way in my opinion to do this is to create a transformation matrix and then apply that to the f of x function. I just think this is the easiest way to avoid mistakes. And also to just make sure that you're doing everything really, really well and showing you're working really effectively as well, because that's something really important to think about in exams. So we've got these lists of transformations, which is we're reflecting f of x over the x-axis. We're dilating it by a factor of 1/2 in the from the y-axis, translating it 2 units in the positive y direction and translating it pi units in the negative x direction. So first things first is to create a transformation matrix that looks something like this. So, as always in these transformation matrices, 0 and 0 just go here. We're not finding an inverse, so these can just be 0. Now, reflecting over the x-axis means that we're making our y values negative, which means we can put a negative here. We'll put a number here in a second, but we just want to make sure that we don't have to put anything other than a 1. So that's that taken care of. We need to dilate this by a factor of 1/2 from the y-axis, which means we're putting it half here because we're multiplying all the x values by a half and dilating it towards the y-axis. We're translating it 2 positive units in the y direction, which means we're adding a positive 2 here, and we're translating it negative pi in the x direction, which means we're putting a negative pi in the x spot. Now we haven't actually, so that's that, and that done, and we haven't got anything else here, so that can just be a 1 here. So now we need to basically just create a new equation out of this. So our transformed values of x and y are equal to x dash and y dash, okay? So there, I'm sure by the time you're doing this, you should kind of know this. If you don't, go back over your matrices and your transformations and really just get clear on this, because this is really important for the exams. This comes up a lot. So basically what we need to do is create our x dash and y dash functions and sub them into the original to find out what g of x is. So we're going to say that y is equal to 2 take 5 cos of x over 2. And we're going, well, first of all, we need to find out what x dash and y dash are. So our transform value of x is x dash, and this is equal to 1/2 x minus pi. Our y dash is equal to negative 1y, or just negative y, plus 2, which means that we need to rearrange this for x and this for y, which means we get x is equal to 2 times x dash plus pi, and y is equal to 2 minus y dash. Now we're going to sub this and this into our original equation to get g of x. So instead of y, we're going to have 2 take y, and you don't have to write the dashes in here anymore, you can just leave the y as it is. 2 take 5 cos this, so x, 2, x plus pi over 2, and that's it. So now what we're going to do is just rearrange this. So negative y is equal to 2 take 5 cos of x plus pi, because this 2 and this 2 cancel each other out. And we can actually let's just leave this 2 here for now. This 2 and this 2 actually cancel each other, which means we're left with negative y equals negative 5 cos x plus pi, which means that we can take the negative version of both and get y equals 5 cos x plus pi. Awesome. So this is our equation, which means, because remember this isn't our final answer, we're not looking for y. What the question asks us, question A, what is the rule for the function g of x? So therefore, g of x equals 5 cos x plus pi. This is our final answer. So guys, this is the 3-mark question. First mark comes by identifying the transformation matrix. Second mark comes by subbing everything in. And the third mark comes by actually writing g of x is equal to whatever it is and answering the question completely properly, okay? So that's part A. Transformations you should be pretty comfortable with. If you're not, like I said, please go over it because it is very, very common in exams. I am going to, what's our next question? Cool. I should have left g of x there, but you guys are used to me rubbing things out I shouldn't by now. So we're going to have g of x is equal to 5 cos of x plus pi. I'm just going to rewrite this over here. Awesome. So now we're actually up to question B. Fantastic. So our question B asks us to sketch the graph of g of x for x between negative pi and pi. Label axis-intercepts and endpoints with their coordinates. So if we're going negative pi to pi, let's create an axis. You'll already have this, so you won't need to create this. X and y. From negative pi to pi, so I'm going to say that we've got pi here and negative pi here. Now, our amplitude is equal to our number out the front, remember? So let's just start with that. So amplitude is equal to 5. That should be a pretty straightforward sort of start to this. What else do we need for a trig graph? We also need our period, okay? So our period is equal to 2 pi over b, where b is our coefficient of our x term. Now, our x term has a coefficient of 1 right now. So our period is just 2 pi because b is equal to 1. So our period is equal to 2 pi, amplitude is equal to 5. We've actually got a horizontal translation of pi units to the left. So what we can do, and this is what I do because I personally find it quite difficult to visualize this horizontal translation. So what I'm actually going to do is pretend that it's not there for now, and then I'm going to move everything across. So if I just had 5 cos x plus pi, what I would have is this point up here, where this is a 5, and it's a positive cos, so it starts at the top, coming down like this. Something like this, okay? And this is not including this plus pi transformation, okay? Which means that when we actually apply the transformation, we're moving all of this to the left pi units, because this is plus pi, which means we're doing the opposite, we're minusing it, which means that this point here is going to end up here, and this point here is going to end up here, because this is pi, we're moving a pi across, which means that we're actually going to get, so this is the max of 5, negative pi and pi. This point here is moving here, so we're going to go through here, and this point here is going up here, which means we're starting up here. This is all symmetrical, which means that this is going to come down like this and back up to here, which means that our graph is going to look something like this. That's a little flat, but that's okay. That's all good. Our endpoint is pi 5 and negative pi 5. And we also need to work out our midpoints. Because this point and this point are halfway between 0 and pi and 0 and negative pi, this is simply going to be pi on 2, 0, and negative pi on 2, 0. Guys, that's it. And actually this bit as well is 0, negative 5, right? Because our midpoint is 0 and our amplitude is 5, so that has to be negative 5. That's it. As always with graphs, just make sure you include everything and you'll get full marks. But apart from that, guys, that's it for MM146, I believe. Let me just double check. Yep, that's it for MM146. Please let me know if you have any questions. But otherwise, guys, have an awesome day.